The main three things that a member of a team looks for is to experience synergy. Very basically, it's like when you are on a boat and others are also rowing at the same time, you feel the strength of the others as well. So this also happens when you're in a sports team. My background, I played rugby. Okay, so when you win, you feel the strength of the others. That is something that you need to feel as a team member, something beyond you when you work in a team. So how organizations should arrange for this is that they should bring people from different cross-functional areas. Like in a team, you have different players. Like in a rugby team, you have forwards, you have three-quarters, full-back. They are all different specialists. So when you work with specialists, you experience something beyond yourself. That is something very important. The other thing that you might expect when you are working in a team from an organization is an environment, a kind of environment in which you can experiment. You are not being judged, but rather you must be able to make mistakes, learn from the mistakes, and then go forward. Apart from our professional training, we have inherent qualities. Any one of us has an inherent quality. For example, we sense things, and we sense things with our five senses. Visual, that is what you see; auditory, what you hear; kinesthetic, touch; and olfactory, smell; and gustatory, which is taste. Now, talents are what emphasizes your professional skills through your senses. So therefore, this is very important, that you might really have to see talent as a mixture of professional skill plus something inherent in you, which can be combined with your skill. So for example, in engineering, if you are an artist, for example, you might be a designs engineer, something like that. So very basically, this is something that initially should be known by the people who employ people as they come into the organization, to know not only their professional skills, but what else they could do. That is sensing talent. So after that, you need to also structure this, because anyone who comes to an organization tries to achieve his highest potential. So on one side, the organization also has its own reason to grow, and also it has its own succession plans and things like that. But people have their own careers. So you can fuse these things together. In the first place, if you actually get these people to talk about what they want to do, and then try to find potential through them. So one thing is a potential appraisal. You need to see where they could go. So then they will see a belonging. They will commit to the organization things. And how you might build this is through what we call a leadership pipeline or a leadership ladder. You see a path for a person, talented person to move into. And two very important things is that on one side there should be coaching, because at every level in the organization there are different skills, different values, and different time applications as you go higher. So you should also prepare people for the next level. So that is the very important thing to do. So in order to do that, you need to have two aspects. On one side, to train the skills for the next level, you need to have coaches. Usually the coach is the boss. But you need to have another aspect, which is mentoring. The mentor can be actually an individual who has passed through this, a very exemplary person in the organization, who might help the person through other aspects like career and things like that. So this is exactly how you could first identify talent, and then you retain it. Very often talented people, if they don't find a route in the organization, they will leave. So this has to be a strategy more than anything else. Actually, there are many moments in my career, but I would like to say that, look, actually I became an academic after I was a professional. I started my life as a designs engineer. So there are many instances where I had very good experiences. For example, I designed and installed the first television tower in Sri Lanka at the age of 23. So that was a long time ago, way back in 1979, I think. And that was a very big experience for me. And later on, as a designs engineer, there were many large projects in which I got involved. So that's as an engineer. But eventually, after doing an MBA at the Postgraduate Institute of Management, I moved out of engineering to general management, business development, and then decided to do a PhD. So my PhD was in organizational behavior. This actually gave me an avenue to travel abroad more than anything else. So I have been to many countries, very interesting countries like West Indies, Africa, and many Asian countries. While doing training, I used to also do trips by myself. So this was also, I would say, something that brought in a lot of experience to me. And I can feel that when I do my lecturing today, really speaking, something that's very important. But having joined the Postgraduate Institute of Management, there were also many instances where there were good experiences. Like, for example, when the 2004 tsunami struck, we all worked in the tsunami, the students and all the entire faculty. And that was a big experience for us to see actually working back again. I went back to engineering during those days, and also working with society communities more than anything else, down south particularly, and also northeast. There were problems in the northeast as well. We also had various work that we did in northeast. So these kind of experiences actually take you to another level from time to time. So I wouldn't say there would be one single experience. There's so many experiences and so many milestones which changes your life and takes you to another level as well. Supply chains actually have been a very big factor for our agility as organizations, and also connecting up globalization. Two very important impacts that help supply chain were globalization, the opening of borders, as well as the growth of IT. That's very important. So the context here of efficiency and effectiveness moved into other two factors of leanness and agility when we are trying to work. So basically this connection around the world of sourcing, say for example from upstream to downstream, so you become only a entity along the supply chain. Now in a peaceful time this is fine, because very often things work well and things move forward, and the competition goes beyond the organization that you work in. But COVID comes in and then shatters the equilibrium that is there in supply chains. This is very important to understand, because something that we earlier looked at which could disrupt the supply chain was generally referred to as the bullwhip effect, where for example your own organization might build to stock, will build to its capacity, but downstream consumers are not the same all the time. Say for example in rainy weather, less Coca-Cola is drunk, right? So as a result of it, there is what we call the bullwhip effect. There is stock stuck first in retailers, then distributors, and at the on the production area as well. Now when the COVID came, another feature came in. On the other side, there was a demand that grew, supplies didn't come in, and there were problems. So there was a kind of a secondary bullwhip effect that was very important. Very often, companies that were working as usual found it very difficult, but the agile companies are companies that are more innovative, found ways to do it. One of the ways that really grew there were some companies that grew, particularly IT companies, and these companies particularly that use more IT quickly learned how to exist in the COVID. This is very important. So this is something that was very important. Now if I talk about my own organization, say we are in a postgraduate institute of management, and what really how the supply chain matters to us is communication, basically information flow, because we are knowledge giving organization. So really speaking, we couldn't have lectures face to face. We work in a couple of foreign sites. So this was a challenge to us because we couldn't meet these students, but quickly there were new technologies that came in, like Zoom for example, and we could be virtually present, and students could also be virtually present. And another factor that was really good for us is, earlier when we worked with international sites, we had to travel there, wait in hotels and all those things like that, and each site, for example, we talk Dubai and Qatar for example, 2 different trips and things like that. Now we can do it together. We can do it together. So we didn't stop, actually really went on innovating it. So our supply chain, what flows on our supply chain is mainly information. So we have got through on that, and we find that we are more agile now as a result of that. Supply chain professionally is a field that's growing very much, and a lot of people are attracted to it. So 2 things that are very important to look if you are going to be a supply chain professional is to look on 2 sides. One is technology, the technology side, which is actually very important, how to use technology, and there you get how to be lean and agile, and sometimes you need to be lean agile also, in the sense that up to what point of the supply chain you will be lean. Lean of course means elimination of waste, elimination of variation and things like that. Very often if you are working on commodities, this supply chain will be mostly lean type of supply chain. But if you are looking at other kind of aspects of very agile products like fashion and things like that, then your supply chain has to be very agile. But up to a point, you can be lean to get the raw materials, and you can be agile at the market side. So this leanness and agile is a technical thing. Basically, you should be connected to that. So 2 things here: you must know how to produce things, the techniques of production, and also techniques of market, very important thing, and also how you integrate both these things together. On the other hand, supply chains don't work if there is no sociological connection. That's very important. Now for example, if you look at the Toyota production process or some place like that, what happens is mostly the supply chain works well because of relationship. Really speaking, they have connections. We have actually a feeling among suppliers in the supply chain and distributors. For example, if you look at a situation which happened at Toyota, for example, when one of their suppliers' plant got burnt up, all the other suppliers who had nothing to do with that got together and got that thing working very fast. Now that doesn't happen if you don't have relationship. So you have to build a kind of a relationship built on trust and commitment. That's very important. That's a sociological aspect. And also you need to be globalized, basically how to work with other cultures and things like that. So that's the sociological side. So you see, the supply chain system is a socio-technological system. Unless you look at both those, it doesn't work properly. So anyone who is aspiring to be a professional has to be multifaceted. On one side, very technically adept. On the other side, he should be also have the sensitivities and the real sociological talents of relationship building, trust and things like that.